All right, folks, welcome back to part two of this project where we're rebuilding this section of length of track, double main line from the railroad overpass to the two stub ends right here. And then we have this turnout leading to this line that finds its way downhill, downgrade to the other, and connects with the other double main lines over there. So what I've done in part one, if you remember, we pulled up the ballast and then ripped up a lot of the cork roadbed and revealed the issue we were having with the ballast falling down because of some poor installation by me of the roadbed several months ago. So to fix that, the only thing to do was to rip up the track and pull up the roadbed and rebuild it. So that's what we're doing here. So starting right here as you come over the railroad overpass, this is obviously you can see I got the cork roadbed down. I glued it down using Mod Podge. And to make sure that those seams don't open up anymore, I've got some white caulk that I just placed there a few minutes ago to really seal up the seams. Next step will be to let that caulk dry, and then I'm going to sand it, not only to take off the excess caulk, but then to just make sure that any transitions between two different pieces of cork roadbed are nice and smooth. Really want the track to lay down nice and flat and have no elevation changes as the train moves along the track. So one thing I wanted to show you here, I hadn't done this previously, but I had some this time. This is a really wide single piece of cork roadbed. This stuff is great for turnouts, yards, any place where you have kind of some complex track geometry that's not a straight run, something on a horizontal curve or a radius. This wider cork roadbed, which is monolithic one piece, just works great. You just kind of have to, I just cut it to follow the geometry of the turnout, and then I bumped it up the factory edge right up against the piece of cork roadbed that remained. I did not pull this guy up. He was in good shape and he's totally embedded under this ballast here, so I didn't want to pull him up, and I don't think I needed to anyways. So next step will be to sand it, and then we're going to paint it gray. So let's get on to that. All right, we got the roadbed glued down, the joints caulked, and then just sucking up some debris. This is really handy if you have a layout to get into some really tight spots. It's not too big. Sacre Plus vacuum. I got this on Amazon. It's probably 40 bucks. Great tool to have just for cleaning up stuff like that on the layout. And I did all the sanding. This is probably like a 150 grit sanding pad, maybe even 120. Just trying to smooth out some of these joints here. See how that looks. But I think we're ready to paint this. I'm going to put a piece of track down first and see how it lays along here, this main line number one. So be back in a little bit after we get it painted. All right, we got the roadbed painted now, and it's ready to receive track. So what did I use to paint it? This is just Lowe's Valspar Ultra, just a latex paint, just a gray. That's all I used. And then I noticed in the last part of this video, I didn't really get into the frame of the sanding. This is just a 120 grit, 150 maybe, sanding pad I used to sand down the cork roadbed, get out any bumps. Especially at the joints, want those joints to be seamless. This really helps the track go down easier, and it's better performance for the trains, less derailments. And I also noticed in the last part, I didn't really get into the frame either, the little mini vacuum that I'm using. So this guy is great with the layouts, gets into really nice tight spots. just a trigger here. I got 2 speeds, medium and high. You can see it's got a screened like filter. It's super durable. It's not paper, so that's really helpful. And then this is just one of the attachments. This is the attachment I primarily use because it's really nice and narrow. You get in all these little narrow crevices and stuff. So I noticed that in the last part. I was talking about it, but it really wasn't in the frame of the video. So, okay, so now next part, we are gonna start laying down some track and then putting down the first like binder course of ballast. Okay, before we go to laying down track, I want to just do a quick part here on weathering the track. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just picking a variety of different shades of brown. Here's one of my go-tos. This is Tamiya Flat Brown XF10. And then the Vallejo, this is actually Model Air, but it brushes just as well. It actually brushes a little easier because it's thinned. This is the Burnt Umber. This is the 71.040. So a while ago, all of these ties were airbrushed with the Burnt Umber. So this is not the original plastic shade that you see here. These were airbrushed with the Burnt Umber, and that took off the plastic sheen, toned down that fake-looking plastic tie that comes standard on this Atlas. This is the Atlas Code 55 track. And then these are embedded or brushed over with fine gray ballast, which changes that, really tones down that burnt umber quite a bit, just from the dust, the really fine dust, really fine particles from the Woodland Scenics fine gray ballast. So they really look good, but I like to have some randomness. So I pick randomness with different shades of brown, different ties. Like some ties might be newer, replaced, than other ties, so they have a different shade, some just weathering or fading differently than other ties. So I just randomly pick some ties and give them a different shade of brown. So that's what I've done here on these tracks. You can see some of those ties are darker. Those were hit with the XF10 Tamiya. And so all I'm doing is really just, this is a 300 paintbrush, by the way. That's the size I'm using. Just coming in here, I'm just randomly picking a tie and just hitting it with, in this case, the Vallejo Burnt Umber. Pretty easy. Just hitting the whole tie. And then I'm doing the same thing with the Tamiya. But here's something else I like to do. Now I've got some rubbing alcohol in here in my palette and to clean my brushes, but this also makes a great wash, which is yet another shade of brown you can use on some of these ties. And sometimes I won't hit the entire tie with this wash. I mean, this is really thin, but it's great. So that's kind of, you can see this kind of, this is like the shade of brown we're talking now with this, but it's perfect for like almost staining the middle of the tie, like stuff coming out of the engine and off the cars as they pass over many times, and just kind of leaving some residue. So I'm just kind of hitting some of that here, and then I will pick one tie and do the whole thing with this thin brown wash, and it really looks good, and it's all going to look better, kind of blend together even better once I put the ballast, once I have it down on the layout, put the ballast on and start brushing the ballast over the tracks, over the track and the ties with a brush. You're going to get some gray in there, which makes it look even more faded. So just hitting kind of randomly with my wash. And so just some ideas there. 3 different shades of brown after the entire track has been airbrushed with the burnt umber. Then I'm picking random ties and hitting it primarily with the Tamiya flat brown. And then after that, I'm doing it and I'm hitting it with a wash. And there are several other shades of brown. You could even use some grays and just pick ties and just randomly paint them, and it really gives a more realistic look, because if you take a look at real track, all the ties are different colors, and that's what we're trying to capture here. All right, I got the track down. I just got it pinned in place. I already ran some trains over just to make sure that everything was in good operating order. I hold the track down with track pins. Okay, these are just black track pins. I drill small holes in the ties just randomly, and put a pin in, and then just press the pin down into the cork. It goes down really easy. And what I'll do is I'll come back later and I'll hit all these black pin heads, mushroom heads with I use like that burnt umber or that Tamiya XF10 brown, and you'll never see them. In fact, I had a hard time finding some of them as I was pulling the track up. I thought I had them all up, and then there would be another one that I would find, and I'd have to pull up. They come up very easily just using a hobby knife and the pliers. And it also lets it doesn't fix the track so much to the cork roadbed that it doesn't let the track like expand and contract and move a little. I like that. It lets the track move a little bit as it expands and contracts with summer and winter. So got this all down, got it hooked back in here at the turnout. Got a couple gaps there in the rails, but I can live with that. So now we're going to put the ballast down. And over here, you can see the track is actually rising up to meet the elevation of the bridge. So I'm going to try to get some ballast, drop some ballast through the ties and push it in from the side, because this is actually ramping up because of the elevation difference from like here to the bridge, bridge there, which in scale feet might only be 1 or 2 feet, but it's enough that this needs some support. I'm not just going to push it down, because then the train will all of a sudden hit the bridge and rise up suddenly. I'd rather that be a gradual grade increase to the bridge from way back, from way back here. So, all right, let's put some ballast down. Okay, guys, here we go. Last piece of part 2. Obviously got the track on in the last part. Now we got it ballasted. Woodland Scenics fine gray ballast. Ballast went down really well. Pretty happy. Everything looks good. You can see all those voids are gone. There's no place for the ballast to seep down. I think everything looks pretty good here. I spent a lot of time. I like to make sure the entire tie is exposed and not buried in ballast, which I think is very representative of a main line. They seem to keep the main line's tracks and ties very clean. So that's what I try to do with mine. So these are my 2 main lines right here, 2 of the 4. And this goes down to the other main line. So these are main routes that I'm saying that BNSF is keeping really good care of these tracks. So pretty happy with that. So the only thing left to do is put down is basically to secure the ballast with a cement. When I use Mod Podge diluted with water and a little bit of dish soap, and I'm going to do a completely separate video on that a little bit later, a couple weeks from now. You can see I started coming up with that ballast cement. You can see it really changes the color of the ballast. Now that's fresh. That has to dry. So some of that darker gray is going to fade over the next few hours, days, and weeks. But it really is quite a sharp contrast, and you can really see that here. This ballast was not touched when we did this repair work. This ballast had been cemented down several months ago. This is fresh new ballast. You can see the difference. I like this color better, but I also like to make sure my ballast is secure. Otherwise it gets everywhere, especially when you're trying to vacuum up or push stuff around. This stuff's loose. This is secure. This is a little darker. I can live with it. It's fine. Probably a little more realistic, but I really like this color. But that's the difference. So, and then something else, you can see I got little pieces of ballast in my grass here at my rail fan park, and I cannot get those out. They are just embedded down in there. So I'm just going to put a little bit more of the grass and cover them up. That's the last thing I'm going to do to clean up this edge. Then I'm going to secure the ballast, and then this is officially done. But I will do another video down the line with how I secure my ballast with cement, which is basically just a diluted white glue. So anyways, here's a look down the line. Pretty happy with that. So anyways, that's the end of part 2. I hope you guys found this interesting and useful. What's next? Probably going to rip up some more track where I'm having this issue, which is down here. And down this turnout. You can see the split. And that's probably what I'm going to do next. And then I've got a structure to add here, which is going to be an old dilapidated depot building that kind of transitions from the passenger station parking lot. Dilapidated vacant depot building is going to sit here. And then we start moving off into out of town, kind of off into the wilderness. This is a construction site. You see I got a job trailer here. This is actually just brown grout from Lowe's. Looks great though. So here's my new Amtrak SDS-40 Charger. And then just working to the right, here's another parking lot for the passenger station. And then we get into one of the cross streets leading into town, or into this part of town that's on the other side of the tracks, if you will. Got a dry culvert here, not dry culvert, but kind of a dry swale stream bed. And then here's the rail fan park in the area that we just fixed up. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. And as always, thanks for watching.